fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hi, I'm Rev, and I love mining in Star Trek Fleet Command. It's my favorite. I'm well known for it. I mine everywhere. So I want to talk to you today about mining. In fact, I want to talk to you about, does the Horizon still have value today, whether you're level 25 or level 45? We're going to cover this because this has actually got brought up by a couple people in my Discord, and it's one of those things that I think is worth covering because we are in a state of the game where there's so much coming out, like new content, new specialty ships. So we're always trying to find that mix of how can I be efficient and have fun, but also still get what's best for me. Like, do I need this ship? Do I not? Do I skip it? We talk about that all the time. And while jokes aside, I know I'm not known for mining. In fact, I'm known for grinding and IPC hunting. OPC hunting. I don't know what IPC is. Insane protected cargo. But I do want to talk about the value that you can find from a Horizon, just from a cost-efficient standpoint, especially for those of you who want to go crazy on some leaderboards. Now, in terms of the Latinum Rush leaderboard, obviously fiches are going to be king, queens, etc. here. But that doesn't mean you can't find value from other ships. And there's a lot of people who will ask, well, should I, max a Horizon? Should I use multiple Horizons? If so, how long? And the biggest pros and cons are things like mining speed, warp range, etc. I'm going to try to cover through all that today, and let's see what you think after we are done, if you agree or disagree. So let me start with the Horizon itself. One benefit to the Horizon, as you can see right here, is just overall cost is very low. Now, cost being low is relative. Remember that if you're in the 20s, the refinery didn't really ever get updated, and just generally speaking, it kind of feels like you're in constant broke boy status. But as you get in the 30s, the refinery's been improved, and as you level up, you'll notice things get better and better. So it's a lot easier, it feels like, to do this later in the game than early in the game. But generally speaking, your Horizon is relatively cheap to upgrade while having a 1550 mining laser. Now, one thing about the Horizon, remember that its bonus ability, its ship ability, is built around dilithium mining, which nobody in their right minds in this game is ever going to do. But it's built around dilithium mining. So obviously, faction miners are going to have a natural advantage when it comes to mining a faction-specific material. But in terms of generalized use, it actually has a very, very, very good mine rate. Here's how we can compare this. Let's put the Horizon back on the screen. You can see that it has a 50%. Now, what does the Anteres have? Out of curiosity. Well, good news. I can show you with the power. There we go. The power of lameness. 1600 at tier 8. Now, look at the cost of a tier 8 Anteres. Significantly more crystal. Look at the amount of crystal here. I'll put the original Horizon back up. Look at the amount of crystal here compared to here. We're talking several times more expensive. Now, are there reasons to prefer this? Yes. Look at the far right. See the warp range? The warp range of a faction miner is warp 60, meaning that at tier 8, or if tier 8 and you buy the warp 9 part, you're going to have warp 65, which is pretty important. That means you're able to get into low-end deep space without having to worry about disco summoning or anything like that. The Horizon can't live up to that. But what the Horizon can boast is a very cheap active mining laser. And we all know that in this game, it is not hard to get the Horizon. In fact, if I go to my ships menu, I can build several of them. And I'm not exaggerating. I can literally build many Horizons. How many? Too many. Dozens. So getting them is not hard if you're doing your daily hostile grinding. You're going to start picking up those blueprints at a ridiculous degree, or you don't actually need as many as you're picking up. You really don't. So in terms of generalized value, you are getting, I think, a pretty good value from the Horizons. So we talk about, should you have multiple of them versus a faction miner, which right down here is the overall cost of those. I'll put this on the screen so you can see tier 8. I think there is an argument to be made for having some Horizons, depending on how hardcore of a player you want to be. Now, to remind those low-level players in the chat, you can get a Horizon completely for free through your research tree. It's part of the commons. The common ships in the game have researches that allow you to unlock a lot of them, and that's really useful. So a free early ship in the game. You're a mid-20s player, you can pick up a miner, and that ends up giving you something as a positive. Now, if I did say another negative about the Horizon is at the top right of your screen, look at the cargo bay. Cargo size is significantly smaller than a faction ship, which is, you can see, about 3 times larger. It's gonna be another drawback. The biggest positive to a Horizon is really 2 things. One is cheap, and 2, it mines incredibly fast, generically speaking. You can also throw crews on there to help with that. You see, I've got, this crew that I use that helps with mining speed with Quark at the top, and then I've also got the diversify ability. So that would help be on top of that. And we're not going to go over the calculation rate for mining speed, though we can do that in a video if y'all want. In fact, if you want us to cover, mining calculations, I guess if you want to torture me, let me know in the comment section down below. But let's expand beyond Horizons and go even deeper down this rabbit hole. So to do that, I'm going to bring up this boat right here, the Hydra. For those that know, I'm actually grinding a Hydra for free by killing hostiles in capital systems. But you can unlock this baby in the low 40s, right at level 40. So what are the advantages of this? Now, if you notice, in terms of mining tool, look up there, it takes me to get to tier 4 of a Hydra to surpass the mining speed, native mining speed of a Horizon. And that doesn't mean the Hydra's worthless. One, the warp range seriously better and the cargo bay larger. But if we're talking about trying to be that player that's out there saying, hey, I either want to mine a lot or I want to dominate by having more miners, well, Horizon giving you a cheaper mining laser to do it more. You do have to worry about pirates like me coming by and hitting you OPC, stuff like that maybe. But the whole point of this video is just talk about, does something have value? Does it actually provide something long-term in the game? I think we're seeing that it does. Let's move to the Amalgam. The Amalgam is another one that everybody loves. This is a max Amalgam, as high as it can go. Cost, not super expensive, but expensive. Warp range, fantastic. We love that about the Amalgam. In fact, a lot of players use the Amalgam for deep space mining, and I completely get that. Cargo bay, but more importantly, look at the mining laser. It's a much lower mining speed than the Horizon. So another thing to be thought about here in this conversation is, even if we are not doing it for the warp range, like say we can, you're okay with the warp range being low, you're going to just discovery summon in, well, then it's more advantageous to disco in or relocate your base and use 3 Horizons to mine something than it is to use an Amalgam. Now, again, that's saying that if the warp range didn't matter. The whole point of this is, to me, is just saying something has value and to show you how valuable something can be. Whether you choose to use them and adopt into your gameplay is completely up to you. It makes sense to use some of these high warp range ships. At the same time, there are so many players out there who are constantly saying, hey, in what ways can I save materials to go to other things that people like more? And at the end of the day, whether you love PvP like Rev does, or whether you prefer armadas or something else, most people would rather invest into their warships. And I think that's just a cold hard fact. I mean, in terms of 4-star materials, would I rather dump it into this or the Bakshor, the Klingon ship? For mining, I would much rather dump things into my Pylum or my Defiant or my Talios than dumping them into a miner. So how do I compensate for that? Well, sacrifices have to get made at some point in the game. If you're going to sacrifice something, you could choose to sacrifice maybe warp range on your miners and then replace that by using the high mining speed of the laser. Now you're going to be sacrificing cargo capacity, you're going to be sacrificing warp range, but maybe that ends up being slightly okay. It depends on your strategy as a player. Also, why is my system button not working? That's weird. Now, one way to get around this in terms of deep space mining is to use your territory mining to try to find places to throw and mine 4-star, 3-star, and really not, I'm not trying to use this as a strategy for the higher levels who are in 5-star, right? That's the reason I'm showing the mining lasers at, Hydras and Anteres. I'm not trying to sit here and make you get 10 Horizons and use them for the rest of your gameplay. But I do want to make it known that if you want to take advantage of the Horizon, it is a cheap ship that you can use for effective, quick mining, but you will have to pay attention to it. I'm not saying it's better than the Anteres, Cavort, or Falkies. I'm not. I actually prefer the faction miners. But when we come to talk about hyper efficient, we talk about being pure free to play. We talk about, hey, how can I save materials? Well, the Horizon is a way to do that. So hopefully this video gave you something to think about, and maybe some of you adopt it, or you think it's completely worthless. Either way, completely okay with me, but it was spawned from having conversations with other players, and having this type of information I think is very helpful, knowing what an Anteres cost and the bonuses to it. In fact, maybe this video convinces you that you would rather have the faction miners because you see the cargo space, you see the warp range, or maybe it convinces you, hey, Rev, I know you don't like the 4-star faction miners, but I would love to have a natively 100 warp range something at tier 4, and you feel like you can afford the cost. Completely okay. Or maybe you're sitting out there and saying, hey, I never really knew the Amalgam could get so good, I'm investing in it. Either way, every now and then I have to make a mining video because it's an important feature in the game. It's annoying and I hate it, but it still matters. So if you love it, like the video. Appreciate y'all. Hopefully this helps you out. If not, let me know. And if you have any questions, as always, drop in the Discord or the comment section down below. Live long and prosper. Stay safe with those Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next one. We're out. And by the way, as far as the warp range, I didn't even cover things like Grush and TOS Scotty. I mean, you can get it out there if you really wanted to. Bye.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.